Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I did a story not so long ago about the journalist in Missouri who discovered a flaw in a state government website. And he reported that to the state and said, hey guys, you got a mistake, you got a problem here with your website. And they fixed it. And then he ran a story about what had happened. And after he ran the story, of course, the governor, because he's such a bright guy, accused the journalist of being a hacker because he had simply looked at the code that anybody could look at, looking at the public section of the page. And even went so far as to say the man should be prosecuted for being a hacker, and called him a hacker repeatedly in press conferences and so on. And of course, eventually no charges were pressed because the man hadn't broken any laws, and the governor just looked like an idiot. And I presume he still does. But I thought the story was over. I assumed it was. And David sent me a note and said, Steve, no, it's not over. One more little segment here from the St. Louis Post and Dispatch. Kurt Erickson wrote the story. The police probe shows Missouri data weakness existed a decade before the Post Dispatch exposed it. It was that way for 10 years. A police investigation released on Monday shows that a flaw in a Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education webpage had been in place since 2011. 2011. Where were you in 2011? It was going on since then. And that no one had noticed it until the Post Dispatch journalist pointed it out. The report's 158 pages thick, and it shows that the reporter hadn't accessed anything that was not publicly available, nor was he in a place he should not have been. That's the official report, according to a Missouri Highway Patrol interview with a DESE spokeswoman, Mallory McGowan. She said the reporter appears to have only accessed open public data, according to the report. The report was released more than a week after the prosecuting attorney announced he would not be charging the reporter in connection with the investigation. That decision was reached almost 7 weeks after his office received a report from the Missouri Highway Patrol, which had been tasked with the probe by Governor Mike Parson in October. Parson had suggested that prosecution was imminent throughout the probe. But according to the report, McGowan said a vulnerability that left 500,000 teachers' Social Security numbers exposed would have been there since 2011 when that application was implemented. So it's been that way since 2011. McGowan told police when the website was brought online in 2011, the practice exposed by the reporter would have been okay. She said that since then, that process is no longer considered best practice. Understatement of the story. Further, McGowan said the database, like other state computer services, is actually overseen by Parsons' Office of Administration, which the government controls. So McGowan said specifically, this website is under the governor's direction. So now we know why the governor flipped out and tried to blame other people, slandered other people, and blamed everyone else but himself, when in fact he was, in essence, behind this. So again, the database is actually overseen by Parsons' Office of Administration, which the government controls. The Highway Patrol said it spent about 175 hours on the investigation. 3 officers assisted in the probe. They do not have an estimate of how much money was wasted on this, however. The investigators also talked to cybersecurity expert Shaji Khan, who verified for the Post-Dispatch that the flaw existed. Khan teaches at the University of Missouri St. Louis, said he was alarmed by the information that he'd received about this particular vulnerability in a website. He stated by the time he was done looking, he realized how bad the situation was, and he indicated the state needed to be notified immediately. Now, Khan, unfortunately, had to hire an attorney. His attorney said last week that Thompson would not be charging Khan either. In a statement Monday, Gross said the report clearly shows that state officials committed all of the wrongdoing here. And that's the attorney for this professor. They failed to follow basic security procedures for years, failed to protect teachers' Social Security numbers, and failed to take responsibility, instead choosing to instigate a baseless investigation into 2 Missourians who did the right thing and reported the problem. Meanwhile, that attorney says, we thank the Missouri State Highway Patrol and Cole County Prosecutor's Office for the diligent work on a case that never should have been sent to them. Parson launched the investigation after the Post-Dispatch reported in October of last year that more than 100,000 Social Security numbers of Missouri educators have been vulnerable. The reporter found the teachers' Social Security numbers were accessible in the HTML source code of some publicly available DESE web pages. The newspaper informed DESE of the flaw and delayed publication until the department could take action to fix the flaw. Now, DESE had initially planned to thank the Post-Dispatch for finding the flaw, but Parson instead held a news conference during which he called the reporter a hacker and said he had been hacking the state's computer system. And it's unclear if Parsons even knows what a computer is. He might not. But if he does, he's clearly being disingenuous when he's calling the reporter a hacker. So that's the crazy part about all of this. The governor cited a state statute that says that tampering with computer data without authorization or without reasonable grounds to believe that he has authorization and intentionally examines information about another person could be wrong. And the problem, of course, here is that the person who's looking at this is not accessing data that was protected in any way. It's just left out in the open. If you could prosecute this reporter for hacking, you could prosecute anybody who looked at that website for hacking. Why not? Emails later obtained by the Post-Dispatch found that the FBI told state cybersecurity officials that there was not an actual network intrusion and that the state database was misconfigured. So everyone kept telling the state, you guys set the site up wrong. It's your fault. And then the governor steps out in front of a bank of microphones and goes, that reporter's a hacker. The records showed that Angie Robinson, a cybersecurity specialist for the state, had emailed the Department of Public Safety director to inform her that she had forwarded emails from the Post-Dispatch to Kyle Storm with the FBI in St. Louis. Robinson said the FBI agent indicated that there was no network intrusion. The emails also revealed a proposed message when Education Department leaders prepared to respond in October. They were going to say, we are grateful to the members of the media who brought this to the state's attention. That was their proposed language. And instead, the government called the man a hacker. And I've read interviews with the reporter. He's talked about what this did to him personally. Because unfortunately, when the governor of a state holds a press conference and calls you a criminal, it's kind of hard to just go, oh, that's no big deal. One guy spouting off. No, it's the governor in front of a bank of microphones holding press conferences and calling you a criminal. And it was a nightmare that he went through, and he shouldn't have had to do it. The guy is a hero. The guy should be treated as a hero. The fact that the governor did that to him is just despicable. But unfortunately, a lot of politicians act like that. A politician is worried they're going to look bad because they did something stupid, i.e. didn't catch this mistake that's been there for 10 years. And instead, they blame the person who pointed it out. It's like, up is down and black is white. It's like backwards that you take the guy who's the hero and say, oh, he's a hacker. He's a hacker. And like I said, the governor might not know what a computer is. I've met people who I don't do cell phones. I don't do computers. It's possible he has no idea what a computer is. That is possible. Okay. But it's more likely that he does, and he recognized that this would make him look bad, and he may have even known that most people have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to HTML and so on. Hypertext markup language. It's possible that he thought, well, I can just call the guy a hacker, and a lot of people who like me will believe me, because it sounds like the guy hacked into something. I mean, how else could he get that information from a public website? Well, the people who ran the website made it available by doing it wrong. And the people who did the website work for you, Governor. It's your fault. Because as they say, the buck stops here. Who was in charge? The governor was. So this has now come full circle. Okay? The FBI said no wrongdoing. The state police said no wrongdoing. The prosecutor said no wrongdoing. But they said, by the way, this is all the fault of an office that's run by the governor. So there you go. David, thanks for sending it. St. Louis Post and Dispatch ran the story. Kurt Erickson wrote it. Police probe shows the Missouri data weakness existed a decade before the Post Dispatch exposed it. questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. A little progression each day adds up to big results.